with an extra 9,500 places added for 2026. It's a 4% increase on this year, taking university enrolments to record levels. The announcement is part of the Albanese government's plan to boost access and lift the number of Australians with tertiary qualifications to 80% by 2050. Alison Barnes is the president of the National Tertiary Education Union, and she joins me now from Melbourne. Alison, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So 9,500 extra spots for domestic students, funding for hubs. What's your response to this announcement?
Look, we really welcome more students, domestic students in the system. It's great to have more people attending, more students at our universities. However, the growing student numbers, while we celebrate those, they occur in a context of widespread job losses across Australia's public universities. We're in a context where we're looking at over 3,000 job losses, particularly in New South Wales, occurring at the same time that we're bringing more students into the system. And for us, for people who work in the sector, we're in a terrible bind. Obviously, it's great if more Australians have access to higher education and tertiary education, but that access needs to be supported. Students are entitled to the best education, and we really need more staff. We need a situation where we need more staff providing pastoral care in our classrooms, teaching and educating future generations of students, rather than a situation where we're seeing widespread job losses. You know, thousands of job losses across the sector in the context of rising student numbers. And we're also in a situation where funding for our universities has gone down. So while students are paying more for their degrees, that funding isn't leading to increased funding for universities. So we're in this kind of wicked storm where we're going to have more students in the system, which is great, but we're seeing staff losing their job and we're seeing funding declining.
You mentioned those job losses there, Alison. It's widely been reported, particularly at the University of Technology Sydney, as well as the Australian National Universities. If the status quo remains, can the universities sustain the way they are with these increased enrolments?
That's a great question. Look, staff across our universities will work enormously hard to ensure that students have a great experience, that they learn everything they need to and they enjoy their time at university. However, that is becoming increasingly difficult. The work hasn't gone away. Workloads are growing. So we're really worried, I suppose, about the impact on staff's well-being, on people's mental health. We're seeing a crisis emerging across our universities where staff are really suffering from the increases in what's expected of them. We're constantly asking staff to do more with less. And that's really coming, I think, at a cost to staff and eventually at a cost to students.
We know that this announcement feeds into the government's universities accord, as I mentioned in the introduction, to get 80% of the workforce being tertiarily qualified by 2050. If that's the case and you support the government's university accord, what is the solution?
I think the solution is to repeal the job-ready graduate legislation, because that had really damaging consequences for our public universities, and fund the sector so it can meet the targets around student enrolments. It's fantastic to have as many Australians and as much of the workforce as possible attending, university. But if we want that goal, and that's a really great goal and we fully support that goal, but we need to fund the sector properly so that people are able to, have their best experience at university, so that universities are able to fulfil their core missions of teaching our students, doing groundbreaking research and the like.
Alison Barnes, president of the National Tertiary Education Union. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much for having me.